So I've had the Marin Alpine Trail E1 for a couple of months now and probably done about 200k on it, thereabouts. So thought it's about time to give some initial thoughts on what I like and what I don't really like on the bike. I've tried to come up with three things, three in each. It was a struggle to come up with bits that I don't like, if I'm honest, but I've tried anyway. So here's a very quick review of what I think are the three good points of the Marin Alpine Trail E1 and three negative points. Hope you enjoy. So three things that I like about my new Marin Alpine Trail E1. Thought what better place to do it than out on a ride. So three things: price, specification and geometry. So price, I think it's a bargain. Okay, it's got an aluminium frame, not carbon fibre frame, but I think that's a good thing in a big hitting electric bike. It's £4,600, which when you compare it to a lot of other bikes, I think makes it a bit of a bargain for what you get. Which brings me on to point number two, which is specification. Again, if you look at the components on paper, you're probably going to feel a bit disappointed, but the sum of all the parts that make this bike so good. I'll start with the fork, because I'm a bit of a fork snob, having come previously from a Lyric RC2, but I have to say I've been pretty blown away by the performance of the RockShox 35 on the Marin. It's got 160mm travel. It hasn't got a sophisticated damper. It's pretty basic. You can lock it out or open it all the way up. But I've chucked some tokens in there, two tokens, bottomless tokens I think, and dropped the pressure, opened it right the way up, and aside from having marginally less mid-stroke support than the Lyric, I have to say it's a really good fork. It's really stiff, or stiff enough. It's got great small bump sensitivity, and just with a little bit of silicone spray each ride, it seems to really help with the way it performs. Similarly, out back, the RockShox Super Deluxe Coil, again, that's a bit of a standout component really, because it gives the back end such control and confidence in steep techie stuff. I've never had a coil shock before, but it's absolutely magic, to be honest. The confidence it gives you through the rough stuff is just insane. So the second thing I like about this bike is the geometry. Check that out. That is slack and steep in all the right places. So it's got a 63-degree head angle with a 160 fork. It's got a 78-degree seat angle, which puts you right over the center of the bike, which if you haven't tried a steep seat angle bike, you really must, because climbing is just something else. Short chainstays and 27.5-inch rear tyre, which makes it go round corners like you wouldn't believe. 780 bars on it at the moment, but yeah, it's not just good for an electric bike, it's just good full stop in terms of geometry. And I think this, when you combine it with the components, the coil shock on the back and the good fork on the front, as I've said before, I really think that you've got a bike that's just ready to rip, to be honest. It's given me so much confidence on all my local trails, it's unbelievable. And yeah, it's absolutely top drawer. And I think this... So three things that I don't like about my Marin Alpine Trail E1 are the battery, the brakes and the weight. So the battery is a 500 watt hour unit, which is pretty much as small as you can get unless you go for a light bike like the Orbo Rise or the Specialized Levo SL, but those have got a lighter weight in their favour. So it sort of goes hand in hand with that. But this bike weighs 24 kilos, so the range is okay, but not great with that smaller battery. Probably get, I mean, I tend to use turbo quite a lot because it's an electric bike, so why not? I could get a decent 1,000 meters of climbing in on a ride and about 30k before it starts to look like it's getting towards 1 bar maybe. So yeah, it could be better. That said, if you do want a larger battery, there is the option of going for the E2 model, which costs more money. You do get a better spec overall, but it does have a larger battery. I'm not a massive fan of the brakes. They're the basic Shimano 4-pot brakes, which are okay. They've got plenty of stopping power, but the pads, I think they're metallic pads and they're really noisy, but they're okay. They're quite grabby. They do have plenty of power, as I say, but they're not very good for modulating. There's much better brakes out there for that, but they do stop the weight of a 24 kilogram freight train of a bike okay. So, and the last thing that I'm not a massive fan of with the bike, although it is a bit par for the course, is the weight. It is on the heavy side of things, 24 point something kilos. I've never actually weighed it, but I think it's in that sort of a range. It is an aluminium frame bike with burly components, and it's got a motor in it, so it's to be expected. But there are lighter bikes in this sort of trail category, but you come back to the point before about price, and I'm not so sure that anything can compete with this in terms of overall price, weight, spec, geometry. So I am splitting hairs a bit with the weight because I kind of know what I've got myself into with an electric bike. But there are lighter bikes out there, but as I say, they are more expensive, so I'm splitting hairs. I'm probably being a little bit unfair given it's an aluminium framed electric mountain bike. So there you go. 3 things I like and 3 things I don't like about my Marin Alpine Trail E1. Overall, I think it's a fantastic bike. It punches well above its price point, and if you want a bike that's going to be able to take on really tough steep terrain, which is where I am now, and mix it up with some trail centre stuff, which is where I was the other day, it's just a really great all-round bike, I think. Even with the minus points aside, the weight and the battery and the brakes, they're minor points on what is an all-round amazing bike, and I think Marin have done a fantastic job. And I really think if you're in the market for an affordable, capable electric mountain bike, you really need to check one of these out if you can get your hands on one. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.